so glad to be here with my good friend Josh. Josh is an outstanding leader person. He really is a positive, uplifting person. So we're going to have a great conversation. Again, if you'd like to be part of this podcast, I'd love to have you on. We're always talking about authentic, honest, and positive ideas that are going to make our world a better place. Josh, good to see you, brother. Thanks for being here. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here. And you know what? I've been following this cat right here for a while on social media. Make sure that you connect on there because this guy does bring the receipts. This guy does bring the street cred, and I'm glad that he's taking it to the next level. Hey, Josh Tovar, our principal of Memorial Pathway Academy in Garland, ISD, Garland, USA, Texas. Right after the solar eclipse. So I'm time stamping this podcast today because it was such a beautiful and weird event, and it was awe-inspiring as a history teacher. You know what? I'm in the middle of a history deluge with elections and economics. As a history teacher, I'm really enjoying this. But talking about history, hey, I'm a proud immigrant to the United States, born in Ciudad Juarez, Chihuahua, Mexico. I am the proud son of Virginia and Jesus Tovar, who brought us to El Paso, Texas from Ciudad Juarez. I am the product of, and I am a child of divorce. I graduated at the bottom 2/3 of my class. I was a very trashy kid in high school. I made trashy decisions. I was not an academic. Not only was I don't know, they keep on changing my name. First, I was a LEP student, then I was an EL student. Now I'm a newcomer student. Now I'm an EB. I don't know what kind of alphabet soup you want to call a Hispanic, but I was one of those guys. So learning the language, and not only that, but also, going through the emotional problems which our kids are facing right now. Craig, you know this. Our kids are facing, no
Yeah.
longer is it just divorce. We always face divorce in education, but there's other variables that are tied to that with this society. The only thing that fixed me up was going to the United States Marine Corps. Proud veteran of the United States Marine Corps Field Artillery. And after that, I joined or decided to go into the University of Texas at El Paso, UTEP. My mom convinced me of that because she wouldn't sign the package to go to the Marines because I graduated at 17 and you could only sign it when you're 18. So my mom said, let's make a deal. You go to college. I'll sign for you to go to boot camp so they could tear you down. And I said, oh, that's how bad I needed it. So along the path, I've been at all grade levels. I bring you 32 years of experience. I've been in elementary, middle school, high school, teaching, assistant principal. I've been a facilitator at the University of Park University, University of Phoenix, El Paso Community College. So I bring to you knowledge from pre-K to the university level. So when I bring you the conversation and I tell you my ideas, it's because I've lived that. Principal Cafeles always says, you need to start off whatever presentation you have, not because you're boasting about what you've done, but you need to have those people in the audience know that you bring the street cred, that when you speak, you're speaking out of working the actual event, working the actual variable, whatever it might be, from negative to positive. So that's pretty much me in a nutshell. I cannot throw 32 years of experience and more than that right now. What do you think about that, Craig?
Josh. Oh, Josh, you had me laughing and thinking, man. You've done so many things, and it's interesting. It kind of leads right to the first question I have. I was thinking about what you were saying from a family that's divorced, an immigrant, and I guess I think about all the success that you had, and a lot of times I hear in education like we can't get quality teachers, quality leaders in our field, that it's really, really hard to do that. So I guess my first question is like, I think about all you've accomplished. How do we get quality educators, quality leaders to help change education for the better? What do you think about that?
My idea on that is very simple. You know what? I'm a simple caveman. I don't use AI. I know I'm going to get a lot of bad things with that. I'm a simple guy. You need to create a profession. And you know what? We're in the best profession out there, the profession that creates all the other professions, education. And we need to keep on
Yep.
painting that out there. We need to make sure we get Hollywood, not about the perverted teacher, not about the gang members in schools, because all that media seeps into the psyche of the country. You know what? We change lives. You, educator in Iowa, you, educator in North Dakota, you're changing a life because you know what? That kid saw the eclipse with you, and you're going to be talking about it, and you connect with those kids. And the number one thing I feel right now, Craig, that we need to do is make sure that all of us in education stop complaining about the job. We know it's
Oh,
hard, and you know what? It's going to get harder. But you know what? We change lives because we are those change agents. And we tell our kids to have a growth mindset. So do we. So if you're angry at your assistant principal, if you're angry at your department head, if you're angry at your superintendent, that's fine. Be angry. You choose to be angry, go. But don't post it all over the socials, as Lainey Rao says. Don't be putting all that out there. Because if I am right now, and you know this, I'm a sophomore about to start prepping my college courses. If we know that that pipeline is drying up too, if we're going through that, and I see all these Facebook posts, all these 60-minute interviews, all these insert whatever news. Oh, the kids, he hit me. Oh, the kids cuss in my face. Oh, this and this and this. I ain't negating it. It happens. Trust me. I know it happens. It's been happening forever. It's been happening forever. But the thing is, right now, with such a high need, you know this, brother. You know this up there in your part of the country and all over. People would not want to go into a profession that we know is underpaid. Since I was in high school, whenever I went to high school, because I was ditched, you would hear teachers complaining, I'm not in it. I'm not in it for the money. I heard that back in the Stone Age. We're not
yep.
in it for the big benefits. We're in to change lives. So what I think is that both Hollywood and corporate needs to start shedding the positive light on those individuals that shine in our field, that our politicians put their money where their mouth is. How can you start off a teacher at $45,000 in the year 2024? That's crazy. With the inflation right now, not only that, but us as educators, that today, I know, hey, educator in California, I know that today some kid gave you a card and it broke your heart because the kid knew that you connected with him. Are you putting that on the Facebook groups? Why not?
Yeah.
Hey, educator right now in Maine, I know that that kid saw you at Subway looking your ugliest because you're burning from being out at the eclipse, and you're smelly because you were out at the football field like I was watching the eclipse, and you just want a sandwich. But that kid that you had in sixth grade found you, and they're gonna say, Mrs. Smith, oh, is that you, Mrs. Smith? And you're like, oh my God, what's going on? You're the best person in my life. I've always wanted to go and tell you because you made a influence, you impacted me, and I'm gonna be an educator. Do you put that on the socials? And that's another problem, Craig. That's another problem. Let's stop the crap with this. Oh, it's not about me. Oh, I don't need the applause. Oh, I don't need the pat on the back. I don't like putting that stuff out there. Yeah, you do. You're complaining that your administrators don't do it for you. You don't do it for your kids. Hey, area superintendent, you don't do that for your principals. I know you don't. Hey, soup, it's hard to find a soup that does kudos for their area superintendents. We cannot say that we want this and make our field the best field, but we don't do it. We have to practice what we preach. So for me to answer your question, that was a simple caveman question, a simple answer was we need to promote what the beautiful thing is, our job. Our job is to enhance this beautiful country. This country gave me everything I have, my man. I have a lot of degrees from higher education. I help change lives, and I'm returning the favor to my beautiful country. I believe in it. We need to push it, and that means all of us. Go out there. You're not boasting, you're not bragging. And you know what? If you are, good. Maybe that person that's been teaching the same way for 25 years, not 25 years of experience, but teaching the same way for 25 years can get a couple of, oh, I like that. Let me connect with our kids. We all should be watching Rita Pierce's video every Monday. That way you get fired and going
Yep.
into the classroom, and we promote the beautiful things that are taking place in our four walls in our beautiful campus.
Well, Josh, I love what you said, man. It was so powerful, and it's the thing is, it's so clear, like your passion, like just listening to your passion and emotion, and wanting to make a difference. I mean, and I will say right off the top, you're so right about the stuff that posts. I always say to other teachers that one of the things is it's not sexy. Like if I say, man, I was working with this guy Josh, and he's a great teacher, right? It's not sexy. It's like nobody's saying, "Oh my God, listen to what Craig said about Josh." It's not getting attention. But if you put something out there and say, "Oh my God, I saw this fight in school and this teacher hit this kid," and now it gets 1 million views, and everybody thinks about that when that's the outlier. That's not the norm. And what ends up happening is we see that instance as something toxic when just as that's happening, there are millions of instances of great things happening in the classroom, in communities, in schools that we're not promoting. And you are so right about this issue of, I don't like the word, I don't necessarily want to say brag, but I do think, like, if somebody said to me, hey, people call me Shap, kids call me Shap. And if somebody said, hey, Shap, do you think you're a good teacher? I can tell you one thing I wouldn't say, well, no, I'd say, yeah, I think I'm a really good teacher and I'm trying to be better every day. Now, I'm not going to go out and boast about it. I think that is not something we want to do. But we also have to acknowledge if we're working hard, doing what's best for kids, doing what's best for their families, we need to let people know that we're doing that instead of I always say the one bad day. So somebody has this one bad day at work, right? And all of a sudden the world blows up and they're focused on the one bad day. How about the 9 other days that went decent? Maybe they didn't go great, but maybe they went decent. You got to focus on them. And of course, you're touching on so many things about, like, actually just before we got on, I was on LinkedIn responding to a post about teacher pay. And one of the things I said, and I am very fortunate where I work, the district I'm in, the pay is relatively good for a teacher in our profession. But I also say I have my bachelor's degree. I have 2 master's degrees. I have 35 years of teaching experience, coaching experience, mentoring. If you took me into the private sector and took all that experience, there is no way I'd be making what I'm making right now. Now, I can't say I'd be making double or triple. Nobody can predict that. You don't have a crystal ball. But I feel very confident saying I'd be making more money than what I'm making. And it's not about the money, it's about fair. What's fair? What is a fair wage, fair benefits, fair compensation for a job that changes the world? Simple. When you said this earlier, that we're touching everybody's lives. If you said to somebody, hey, what's a fair compensation package for somebody who's changing the world for the better? I can tell you right now, it wouldn't be $40,000. That's for sure. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of variables too,
Yeah, and you know what? The good thing
you know?
about great minds is we think alike. And just to close off
Oh,
this
yeah.
point of view or this topic, it's look, guys, since the moment I started back in the Stone Ages, it wasn't easy. I got hired the week before Thanksgiving, and they had gone through, I think, 7 substitutes, and it's middle school. You could understand or could imagine what I walked into. So that's not
Yeah.
an easy thing at all. But you know what? You win kids over, you win adults over because you have to be consistent. Mean what you say and say what you mean. Mean what you say what you
Oh,
mean, and be consistent. If you use those 2 philosophies, educator, then you will make sure that the kids will fall into place Hey, administrator, if you say and do those two things, you will cut down your recidivism of kids in the office. You have to be consistent and always show that you care about them kids. Because you know what? Kids don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And once you make that connection with them, they'll walk on fire for you. How many of us have seen this? The athlete on the sideline runs the wrong play, drops the ball, and you've got the coach. And the kid is, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. Or the band director. You know that band starts before anything. They're out in the summer. They're creating their lines and their
Yep.
drill, whatever it is. And they're doing push ups in summer. And you got the band director up top in the middle of the football 50-yard line yelling at the trombone, at the clarinets, do push ups, go run laps. And they say, sir, yes, sir. You know, like they're little Marines. Kids will walk on fire for you if you're consistent and you show that you love them. And that has to be done 24/7 whenever you're in that little niche with them. And after that, they'll defend you. And that's another thing. That's another thing that makes our profession so beautiful, that the kids acknowledge reality and they will call out the fake people.
Oh my God. You so again, you know what, Justin, I'm listening to you, man, and like your teachers and your kids at your school, they are so lucky to have you, brother. They're so lucky to have you. Just listening to the stuff you're saying and is so authentic and positive. And I do think, I mean, obviously the quote that you said is so true. I always say that like kids, and I've been at the high school for 28 years. The one thing that's great is the kids always know whether you're real. You know, like you can't fake it. They know whether or not you care about them. And actually, I would even say this, and this goes back to leadership as well. Teachers know whether their leaders have their back. They know whether they truly want what's best for them in a way that is authentic and also with high expectations. Had a conversation with my principal about high expectations for our school. And when I say that, I mean across the board. There should be high expectations for students, for parents, for staff, all staff, not just teachers, everybody, and also for leaders. Because once you don't have that, once you do not expect excellence in all forms, then you allow things to slip. And I've seen that throughout my career. Once somebody kind of sees that, oh, I can get away with stuff, and I don't really, maybe that's the wrong way to say it. I would say once somebody sees that there's an easier way, there will always be one person who tries to take advantage of it. And it is up to us as educators in any of our roles to make sure that that does not happen. And I think that, again, that comes back to what do we expect of ourselves and what do we expect of others? I will say to students all of the time, every single kid, first day of school, when they walk in my room, everybody, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. I want to let you know right from the get-go that I expect excellence of all of you. But in return, I am going to give you excellence as well. And I make two promises. I've made the same two promises for many years. And the two promises are, I promise to listen, and I promise to come in positive every day. And just by making those promises, they raise the expectation on the students. And again, there's never going to be a perfect situation, but I do believe that that sets in motion a really, I guess, a really good trend.
Let me Nick Saban, I think who this quote is attributed to. If you want to make everyone happy, go sell ice cream.
Right.
So it doesn't matter if you're the instructional aide and you go into 3 classrooms. You have a mission. If you're supporting math, English, and science, you have a mission. If you're the classroom team member that's facilitating biology, you have a mission. be consistent, and show love. If you're sitting in one of my chairs or a head coach's chair, you have a vision. You were hired for that job. So you can't blame somebody else because you applied for that job. And you knew what was part of that because you've been looking to go into that job. So it's very important that you adhere to and you hold on tight, baby. Hold on tight to what your vision is and don't break free. Be true to what your game plan is because you're the one that got hired for that. You got hired for the instructional aid. You got hired for football. You got hired for lacrosse. You got hired to be the main chair in the campus. And part of that is being true to your vision. And if the vision has everything to do with student success, then you could sleep well at night. You can't get caught up with adult comfort because those adults in your campus, in your home, already have a life. They already have a profession. They already have a job that's paying them insurance. We're not going to get into how much insurance or anything, but not that kid, not that child of divorce that came from Mexico like I did. They have no chance. You are the chance. You are the lifesaver. So you got to hold truth. You still respect everybody. You still treat them with honor. And sometimes people make it hard on you. Don't get me wrong. You try to offer the cheek the 41st time, it's hard for the 42nd time. All right? Especially with these big cheeks. But let me tell you, as a leader, and again, the head custodian is a leader of 4 other custodians. The cafeteria manager is still a leader of 5, 6 cafeteria ladies. And whatever their vision is, you need to hold true. And let me tell you, if you hold true, oh, are people going to throw rocks at you? Everybody knows how to do it better than you. Let me tell you, coach, you know that, coach, right?
Mhm.
Everybody knew you should have pulled that athlete a play earlier, right, coach? Everyone knew you should have thrown the ball, not ran the ball. Everyone knows better than you. But they're not willing to go get the diploma. They're not willing to go apply. They're not willing to pass the interview committee, but they have an idea how to do it better. Just know that that's part of it. And if you can't deal with it, then don't go to that level. Stay as an assistant coach. Stay as an instructional aide if you want to grade all those papers. Be happy with whatever you want to do, which goes back to our start of our conversation. Promote the positive things that happen in our field. And if we're happy with what we're doing, we're going to just be all over promoting the beautiful things that are our jobs. But as I started right now, if you try to make everyone happy, you will make nobody happy. I learned that from my very first principle.
Mhm.
I'm loyal to everyone that opened the door to me. That's another thing that's been lost in our field. I don't know about you up in your part of the world, but loyalty has been lost in the field of education. You open doors for people, and you know what? They don't reciprocate the loyalty. I've noticed that, and I'm loyal to the very first principle. But he did teach me one thing. He was a very nice man, very nice man. He said yes to everybody. But when you say yes to everybody, then all those needs started conflicting with each other. So if I say
Yep.
yes to doing this field trip, but I've got these kids that want to go to the field trip, but they're going somewhere else, you're conflicting with each other. You're creating chaos. And he just didn't want to say no to everybody. And so those are the things that have to do with your chair, whether it be the head coach chair, superintendent chair, whatever it might be. You have to stay true to what your vision is. And if you have somebody that you know is a positive force, somebody that you just need to coach them, that's what you do to your star athletes, right? You go and you coach them. After they drop the ball, you take out the easel. Hey, this is the route. You've seen it. We've seen it at basketball. We've seen
Yep.
it everywhere. You take the time to coach those people, and then you finish with one final thought in regards to this part of leadership. You cannot make everyone happy because you know what? In our field, in the cop field, in the doctor field, in the airplane field, the people of pilots, hurt people hurt people. Hurt
Mhm. Yes.
people hurt people. So it doesn't matter how nice you are. It doesn't matter if you give him foot massages for a week. It doesn't matter if you give him donuts every day. It doesn't matter if you give him
Right.
embroidered nice logo shirts. They're gonna say, "Well, it would have been better if it was in purple." And they would go tell
Right.
everybody, "Oh, it's a nice shirt." But if you would have only, "Oh, you know what? Yeah, I did ask for pastrami, but it didn't have this kind of mustard."
Right.
Those
That's
are
so
hurt
true.
people. Those are hurt people. You cannot focus yourself. And a lot of leaders, correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of people try to win those over. You can't.
Oh,
You will
oh my
never,
God.
because they're damaged. It doesn't, I'm not talking about
We talk.
education. I'm talking about life. Hurt people,
Yep.
hurt people. And there's nothing you could tell them. Maybe you could switch them just a little bit, but they will always be stuck in their ways, because that's how they find sanity. That's how they find, by bringing you down like a
Hmm.
crab in the crab bucket. They will do everything. You know what? You know what I call those people, Craig? And I learned this lesson in the early
Crap.
'90s. Those people are called the weebies. Do you know who the weebies are? Have you ever
No,
heard of the
I
weebies?
don't.
The weebies are the people in your
No.
campus. The weebies are the people in your campus that they say to an administrator, "We be here before you, we be here after you. I'm not gonna do anything that you say." They're not gonna
Right.
do
The
anything that you
weebies.
say because
Right.
your pastrami sandwich didn't have that mustard.
You know, it's funny. When I talk to students and even other adults, they'll say to me. A lot of kids will say, "Shap, how do you come in every day? Like you got 35 years. How do you come in every day so positive?" And one of the first messages I say to them is, "I surround myself with people that make me feel good, not bad." And it goes back to the whole compendium of not just education, our world in general. And here's a perfect example. Think about you and I being on the podcast, right? Do you really believe I would have asked you to come on if I thought you were going to be a toxic person? Of course not. It's not a matter of now. Now, obviously, I always want to hear differing opinions. Always. I think that's what makes us better as a society. And even in education. I always say we can agree to disagree, but it needs to be done with respect. So when I say to kids, listen, get toxic people out of your life, that applies so much to education. I'll tell you, it's a true story. It's crazy. When I first started teaching, um, I was teaching in a a low socioeconomic district, small school. I was new. I didn't know anybody. I was 23. We had this tiny little lunchroom. It was tiny. It was one like maybe like 10 by 10. And they had a table, chairs, and a sofa. So I there was no other place for me to go for lunch. I didn't have a classroom. I was in elementary school. So I'd go up and sit with the teachers, and every single day they'd be complaining about something. Every day, something. This kid, this parent, this teacher. And I would just sit there, because I was new. So I didn't really like, yeah, yeah. But I was new. I didn't want to know what to say. I was 23. So I just sat there. And, sometimes people would say, "Hey, Craig, what do you think?" And I would say, I don't really think anything. So after I was there for about a year and I got a little comfortable, my principal was a great principal, outstanding leader. I swear I was, I was sitting in the lunchroom and they were complaining. And I put my head down and they were like, "Craig, what do you think?" And I said, "I'll tell you what I think. Please shut up. Stop complaining. I am so sick of every single day hearing you complain." And they were like this. I'm like, "What are you looking at? Stop complaining. Listen, Obviously, some days are tough. I understand that, but every day, I never hear you say something positive. I never hear you say, oh my God, this kid learned this. I never hear you say, oh my God, I got this from this teacher. Oh, I never hear you say, I had a great parent conversation. Every day there's something wrong. If you're not happy to be here, there's the door. And they all looked at me like this. And we had this one teacher. We had this one teacher who had you had to call her by her first name. No, I'm sorry. You had to call her by her last name. Oh, you can never say her first name. She's looking at me, and I said to her, yes, I'm talking to you. And I said her first name. And she's like, oh, what did you say? I said, your first name. I said, stop coming in every day. I said, you want respect from the kids. You want respect from adults, but you're not giving it back. What gives you the right to expect respect if you're not giving it? And it was crazy. Now, obviously, what it goes back to what you said. Like, I really wasn't trying to ruffle feathers. What I was trying to do is to have an honest conversation about what we can expect of ourselves and what we need to give to students. And if you're not willing to do that, you need to do one of two things. You need to figure out how to, or you need to get out. One or the other, and hopefully you figure it out. And my final thing on that is, I have this conversation with a lot of leaders. Let's say you have 100 faculty at your school, just keeping it simple. You got 100 faculty members. You're going to have some that are go-getters, some that are giving it their all every day. The Joshes of the world, they're going out there and hammering away because they truly care. You're going to have a certain percentage of them. And then you're going to have a certain percentage at the bottom. Weebies. There's a certain percentage of the weebies that are at the bottom. It's a small percentage, but there's a percentage of them. And then what's most important, you're going to have a large contingent in the middle. This large group that can either be risen up or drop down. And it is up to us to not let them become another weebie. We've got to raise them up. And for those weebies, this is a great thing that I found. Let's say you got 10 weebies and the staff is getting better. You're doing a great job as a leader. And this is for the leaders out there. So you have 20 people that are really gung-ho. And you got, let's say, 60 people in the middle and 20 that aren't. And sooner or later, that 60 that aren't, now they're in the middle, now you got 50. And now you got 40. And now you got all these leaders. Sooner or later, you know what happens with the weebies? They leave. They leave or they shut up. They do one or the other because there's no more weebies for them to be with.
Agreed.
You gotta
100%.
You gotta lift people up. You gotta lift them up and make them feel better so the weebies want to leave.
It's so true, and I agree 100%. And that's one of those things that's sitting from my perspective is that I try to tell the assistant principals that I work with is just hold on tight, because if you are not focused and you don't believe in my vision, because remember, the assistant principal, you don't have a vision. You're there to assist the principal and their vision because they got hired for the vision of the campus. So, hey, assistant principal, you're there to assist the principal's vision. Sure, you might have some ideas and you could go talk to him or her, but it's your job to fulfill their vision. And I tell them, hold on tight. This is what we're going to do. Don't allow people to complain to you. Don't allow people to whine to you, because there's a difference between bringing up concerns and whining. And if you as an administrator listen to whining, then that weebie is going to go back to the teacher's lounge and they'll say, hey, that assistant principal, they agree with me. Oh, really? Yeah, I told them about this and this, and that creates a rift in administration, and they play us off against each other. Just like sometimes children of divorce do that with their parents. We've seen that a lot. Well, this is the same thing. We need to hold true to what the vision is of the main chair. It's always important. And if you don't empower the weebies, then that campus will always flow. And you know that again, I'm not throwing and I can't be contradicting myself or talking trash. I'm not talking about weebies in only education. That is everywhere. I'm sure you have
Yeah,
weebies in
yeah, of
Arby's.
course.
I'm sure you have weebies at Chick-fil-A. I'm sure you have weebies at Dillard's. Because you know what? When I go to the counter, other than Chick-fil-A, it's nobody's pleasure to serve me. They're all on their phone. So, just to close this off is just to say, hey, we all need to be rowing in the same direction. And I like showing the video of those Yale or Rutgers tall white boys with that whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. One oar is off, and what happens? You lost the race. Have you guys seen
Yep.
those oar races at college,
Oh,
at the university
yeah,
level? All those little skinny white guys, they're all cut. They got all over, right? They got the shreds because they're doing all that cardio. There you go. That man right there. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the actual athletic part. It's about being in tune together, both physically
yep.
and mentally on that little boat. That is the same thing whether your school has 3,000 kids or 300. You all need to row in the same direction under the vision of one person. And if that person is not fulfilling your needs, then you got, in my point, two choices. Number one, go water your grass somewhere else. In education right now, you're all free agents. You're all free agents. Or number two, go talk. No talk. Don't go talk about the administrator. Go speak with the administrator and say,
Yep.
"Hey, chap, you know what? You put us on hall duty by the bathrooms during this time, and it's testing. I have this plan. What do you think about this?" And as Jimmy Casa says, don't be a lid. Listen to what the plan is. Just because it's your plan doesn't mean that it's the best plan, because maybe they're bringing something to the table that they experience somewhere else. That's how you get that whoosh, whoosh, whoosh rolling together. But it's about having the conversations and not fearing the chair, and chair not fearing the feedback that you're getting. You're a big boy. You know that that's part of it. You're a big girl. You know that's part of it. And that's the only way that if the adults are working together on the campus, there's nothing but success for your learning community.
It's actually so interesting, Josh, that you said that because I was going to disagree with you on your vision, and I was going to simply say that it is, and you kind of just followed it up, so it's maybe not so much of a disagreement because you kind of followed up with it. I think the vision ultimately does fall with let's say a principal or superintendent, but I think that vision also has to be something where there's discussions of what the vision is. So if I say to you, you're the assistant principal, I'm the principal, and I say, Josh, this is our vision, and I give you no opportunities to share your own ideas, then one of two things happens. Yes, you could say, hey, I love that vision, or you could not say anything and then silently not agree with the vision. And I think that kind of goes back to your conversation of there has to be dialogue. I just had a meeting with my principal. We had an authentic, fabulous meeting about our school. And we both went back and forth in ways that were respectful. Didn't always agree with everything, but we don't have to. She knew that I cared, and I know that she cares. And that is ultimately what it's about. You don't need to agree with everything that somebody's saying, but there must be mutual respect. There must be
Great.
mutual respect no matter what role it is. No matter what role, whether you are the superintendent, the principal, the assistant principal, teacher, custodian, lunch aide, whatever the role is, mutual respect is a must across the board. It's the same thing in our classrooms. I will always say to students, always, I will not allow anybody to disrespect me. Nobody. I will not allow anybody to disrespect me. If somebody disagrees with me, that I am perfectly fine with, as long as it's done in a way that is respectful. And that goes back to the whole idea of lifting people up in a way that is genuinely in their best interests. I wanted to touch on one other thing, and you mentioned this about gossip. Gossip to me is a culture killer. It's a culture killer. I just had an incident today where a good friend of mine, a colleague I work with, who I have an incredible amount of respect for, she came up to me and she's like, Shap, can I talk to you for a second? And I was like, yeah, sure. They came up to me and they said, I wanted to get your take on something. A colleague who I don't really know that well was speaking poorly about me to a student. And she's like, I'm not sure exactly what to do. And my first comment was, really? You don't know what to do? You're going to go up to that colleague respectfully and first of all, find out if it's true. You're going to find out if it's true or not. And then you're going to stop that from happening ever again, because that's so unprofessional. And we need to hold each other accountable. If we do not hold each other accountable for the things that we do, both in the best sort of ways and even when we slip up, that is a problem. I would never want somebody to not hold me accountable for my actions and my word, but I'm also going to do the same thing back.
No, and
that's my lecture.
no, and that's a great lecture, because we're such a little community. When I say that, again, it doesn't matter if your school's 3,000 kids or 300 kids. It's still a community within hallways. And all it takes is one
Yep.
gossip or one rumor to totally throw in anarchy. And the worst one for me is always when the kids say, "Ooh, Tovar, Mr. Shap, he said this about you in class." Number one, I ain't never gonna believe a kid that tells me about stuff like that. That's divide and conquer, baby. But number two
Yep.
is, I believe 100% in patterns of behavior. I would judge you, and I'm not the Lord, but I would judge you based on patterns of behavior. We're all flawed creatures. We're all sinners. And sometimes we mess up. But there's always a way to notice when there is consistency in your actions. And consistency, Mr. Strongman here, that's what makes us both a sound mind and sound body. If you're consistent and you have a pattern of behavior, then it is truly who you are, because your actions speak louder than words. So if I've only heard one time one kid say this, only heard one time this, then you know what? I'm not gonna lay credence to it, because it's not worth creating a schism in my hallway, in my collaborative team, my campus PLC. But if there's patterns of behavior that keeps on coming to my ear, then I do have to address it. Hey, brother, just real quick, can I talk to you? Hey, is everything okay between us? You can't assume that those things are true. So you say, hey, you know what? That's when you break down the conversation, not in a confrontational way, because we tell our kids, don't go address an issue with another kid, because then these hands come up. You've seen it at the high school. I just wanted to talk about it. And you know what?
Yep.
We got in a fight. No, hey, I've seen that happen with adults. Adults fight, like literally fight, because of gossip. So I can let you know, you address the issue. Hey, brother, you know what? Keep on hearing a couple of things. Hey, did I do something to get you angry? You got to come up. You can't confront it, because that's not being professional. But saying, what did I do to create this situation? How can we better resolve it? And it takes a bigger person to do that than to get easily offended and go to the teacher's lounge and talk trash. So I
That's
think
so
I
hard though,
agree 100%.
Josh.
No, it is what it is. I mean, as human beings, we do that. And I highly suggest a campus administrator to read the 4 agreements. You guys got to read it. If you're in a campus that might have some toxicity, you all need to do that book study. Read the 4 agreements by Don Miguel Cervantes, and he talks about gossip and the black magic that happens
Yes.
and that it creates it. So it's very important that that's not this. Because if we're all doing this and one guy behind you hits you with the oar, we ain't gonna win that race with the gossip. So it's those things that we need to address one way or the other, and especially if the main chair is the one that needs to stop it, doesn't, then totally the body is poisoned. And we're gonna become like those zebras in Africa that are poisoned and they explode, or those whales. Have you seen those? That's what will happen to
Yes.
the campus. That's what will happen to the campus. It will blow up, and then what does it do? Boom, with releasing all the
And I
toxicity.
think and I think that's something that really is a learned. I love first of all, I love that you said patterns. I love that. I always talk about actions. Like I'll say to kids, kid comes late to my class. Hey, Shap, sorry about that. Okay, yeah, okay, I got you. Understand. Next week, Shap, sorry about that. Hey, Josh, listen. You told me you were sorry once. I got you. Understood. You made a mistake. Now you're sorry twice. Are you really sorry? Because you've been late twice. So now this is how it works. Stop being late. Your actions are going to tell me more than your words. And I think that's something in our field and in all fields. We should judge people by obviously some of the things they say, their words matter, but more important is the actions that they do. If I tell you that I really care about you, but then you leave the room and I'm behind the scenes trashing you, then my words meant nothing. It's more of my actions. I need to show you. And that's the same thing. That goes back to the original quote. Kids don't know how much you care until they know how much you care. Is that what it is? Kids do not care how much you
Hey,
know until they know how
hey,
much you care.
hey, you're getting me red in my face. You're turning these tomato cheeks red. Kids don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Exactly. And I think that's the same with adults. I think that's the same with adults. It's kind of like the whole thing. Like, if we show and tell people that we truly have their best interests at hand in our field, we will rise people up. If we say that to them, but we don't really mean it or don't do it, then they will know we are fake.
And that goes again in the same pattern of behavior. So somebody, whether it be the department head, someone, whether it be the team lead, someone, whether it be the district support, the content coordinators, we all have alphabet soups for everything, right? Whether it be the assistant
Yes.
principal in charge of a department, whether it be the principal in charge of a school, what is your pattern of behavior to reward the positive things happening in your campus? Have you established something? Because a lot of times, I don't know about you in your part of the country, but I know that in Texas, I've been in 3 cities, really two, but Socorro's part of it, but 2 major cities, 3 districts. And when you hear team members unload their concerns, it's about how they don't get appreciated or recognized. Got it.
Yeah.
And so, what are we doing to number one, what are you doing to recognize each other? What are you doing within a grade level, fourth grade level? What are you doing to recognize Mrs. Smith, who had 100% passing on math? What are you doing as an administrative level to honor everybody who had 90% up on whatever? I don't know. Every state has different levels of success.
Yep.
Hey, what are you doing as an area superintendent or superintendent to acknowledge those principals that got that team rowing together to create those scores? Because if those scores are great, those kids will continue a pattern of behavior of success. But you don't see it out there. You don't see it. And the good thing, or the you want to call it however you want to call it, this will never go away. Social media is here to
Yes.
stay.
Yeah. It is.
This is here to stay. And if you're one of those administrators that does not promote the beautiful things that are happening in your beautiful school with your beautiful children and your awesome team members, and people don't know about it, then you know what? You're still buying your pants at Montgomery Ward. You're still renting your movies from the Red Box. You need to put down the beta tape and the large laser disc, and you need to get on social media. because you can't be making your copies on the Rizzo and smell it. Those days are gone. And I said a bunch of stuff that the kids right now don't know what the hell I'm talking about. That's my point.
I know.
Everybody right now, my generation X, we're on the up and leaving. Okay, our peers are retiring already. These
Yep.
other generations got raised on not drinking from the water hose. They all got trophies. They
I know.
all drink out of plastic water bottles. That's okay. That's what society said at that moment. I'm not putting it down. I'm a history teacher. I just observe those things. And they understand that accomplishments go through this. Their accomplishments are posted by their mom on Facebook, their fifth grade, their fifth birthday with the candles, with the clown. And so that acknowledgement is what is relevant to everybody. I talked to Dr. Craig Boykin at the North Carolina conference a couple of weeks ago, and he was talking about how teens get so angry, violent when you take away their cell phone. Well, he talks about, obviously, his niche is African American students, and he talks about not having parents at home and they don't get validation. Well, it's not just African Americans. There's a lot of kids that are living by themselves and they don't have that. And they don't get the validation of dad saying, great job hitting the ball in baseball. They don't have mama saying, ay, mijo, qué bonito, mijo. They don't say those things because they're being raised by grandma, they're being raised by auntie. And a lot of the migrants right now that you're getting, my friend, that we've been getting for years, those migrants going up there, their parents are still in Honduras. Their parents are still in Colombia. The only love, the only passion that they're feeling are the likes here.
Yeah.
So I highly suggest that you promote the good things that are happening in your school. And I can guarantee you, those things that you do with patterns of behavior of accentuating the positive will only give you layers upon layers of Kevlar with that angry cheerleading mom who wanted her daughter to be a flyer, but is a base. It will only help you when that second string quarterback, after the first string quarterback got hurt and you didn't put in their child, it'll avoid that conversation because you're putting out into the psyche of your learning community that we always celebrate success, whether it be marbles, whether it be cheerleading, whether it be choir, whether it be academics, whether it be whatever it is. We accentuate the positive because we try to create the whole complete child, and we put it out there in a place that you can all see. And that's the only way we avoid the drama. And that's how you also start bringing in the weebies, because then the kids start to behave. And this goes back to your Twitter chat from yesterday. You start bringing everybody in. And if you start bringing everyone in,
Mm-hmm.
then you start closing the achievement gap because everyone's buying into the Kool-Aid. And if the Kool-Aid tastes good, we're going to keep on drinking it. And the kids will start. And the kayak next to us, or the back, this is a Mexican, I don't know what that is. But those boats, we all start rowing together. Now you got a boat full of kids rowing with you. You got a boat full of adults rowing with you. And we're going to win and we're going to beat Yale at the end. But it's about establishing and recognizing those things. And you know what? Just to tie it up with a beautiful ribbon, this is exactly what your first question was. We need to start promoting the beautiful things that is our profession. Think about how many kids are going to be talking about today's event with the solar eclipse. They're going to go home to their auntie, to granny, to mama, to papa, and they're going to be talking about that. And after that, we're going to carry on conversations, and that unites a family over the dinner table and within the PLC. Remember what PLC is, which is your whole campus. We need to always accentuate the positive, promote the successes that happen, and those are the things that will unite us as a learning community. And I tell you, it doesn't matter you're a Title I school, you're not a Title I school. What matters is that it's a loving and caring environment, just like what this guy does right here. This guy is always promoting the positivity. This guy, if you're seeing me on YouTube or you're seeing me on LinkedIn or whatever, I'm pointing to this man, the creator of this podcast. This guy is always promoting. He writes down actual true conversations that happen to him because that's how we learn. Teaching is nothing new. Teaching is an art that has been going around from caveman time. We tell stories to the next generation, to the next generation. And the better storyteller you are, the higher you were within the culture of the society. That's what this man does. He talks about it during his 1 minute drive. He talks about it now on his podcast about how we can make ourselves better and confronting those issues, confronting the weebies, confronting the rock in the shoe, that sophomore softball player's mom who does not want to sell cookie dough. But she still wants to take the trip to the tournaments. She doesn't want to sell another cookie dough, but she wants to take the tournament trip. Don't work that way. But if you created, hey, we're doing this, we're all rowing together, and it's one beautiful ribbon. It's all tied up. And you know what that package, that surprise is? Student success. That beautiful child will look up at you. They will look into the audience when they graduate with their cap and gown, with their tassel hanging from the side, with their high school diploma saying, I'm ready for chapter 2, baby.
Josh, man, you killed it, brother. Oh, such a great conversation. Everybody, I want to thank Josh for being here. He knocked it out of the ballpark. He covered so many great topics, and most important to me is everything he was saying was real. I felt it in my heart that he was truly authentic and wants to make a difference in people's lives. I think that's something, if you are an educator or you're going into the field or you're a leader in any field, he is somebody who truly represents the best that we have to offer. Josh, do you want to close with anything?
I would like to say two quick things. Educator out there, do me a favor. Every morning, send 5 texts to a fellow educator. Send 5, only 5. Get a little clip art and say, I'm thinking about you, you're the best. How long does that take? How long does that take, Craig? A little clip art.
5 seconds, 10 seconds.
And one sentence. A blink of an eye. And you send it out there. And then the next day, you send it out again. Let's start off the day not thinking about what might happen negatively, but knowing that someone loves us, another educator loves us because they know what we're going through. So that's number 1. And I will close with my parting thoughts. Like I always, this poem to me is very important to all, and I'm presenting to you, educators. Listen to this poem, and I will shut up after this. People are often unreasonable, illogical, and self-centered. Forgive them anyway. If you're kind, people may accuse you of selfish motives. Be kind anyway. If you are successful, you will win some false friends and some true enemies. Succeed anyway. If you're honest and sincere, people may deceive you. Be honest and sincere anyway. What you spend years building, someone could destroy overnight. Build anyway. If you find serenity and happiness, they may be jealous. Be happy anyways. The good you do today, people will often forget tomorrow. Do good anyway. Give the world the best you have, and it may never be enough. Give them your best anyway. In the final analysis, it is between you and God. It never was between you and them anyways. Mother Teresa.
Wow. Everybody, I love, that's such an amazing quote. Look at that. That is so amazing. And it really speaks to just really honestly what this podcast is really going to be about. The ultimate goal every time I'm on or I'm with somebody else is to lift people up. We want to always have a positive, authentic experience that when people are done watching or listening to it, they feel better than when they started. I want to thank Josh again for being here. He's an amazing leader. Please follow him on Twitter, LinkedIn. He is truly a special man. If you would like to be on the podcast, please let me know. I'd love to have you on. Subscribe, like, everybody. At the end of every podcast, there's always a quote. And this is the kind of quote that it is. Ready? Choose happy. Everybody, thank you again for all you do. Josh, you're the best. Love you, brother. Everybody have a wonderful day. We'll talk to you soon.